My name is Shannon. I am a 33-year-old cis woman. I am an improviser, a storyteller, a burlesque dancer, a feminist, a geek, a goth, and a Wiccan priestess. It sounds really pretentious to say, but it's the best answer I could come up with. What defines me is a performance. I've been performing my entire life in one way or another.
Okay.
And that's a huge part of my life. And looking back, the periods where I didn't have either a regular performance outlet or wasn't in rehearsal for something, those are the periods where I get depressed.
Oh.
So performance is pretty integral to who I am and how I live.
I want to know how you got into being a Wicca.
Okay, so taking the story all the way back.
Okay.
I was in middle school and I had one of those like epiphanies that seem really like groundbreaking when you're in middle school.
Yeah.
Where we were doing a course on Greek mythology, I think, some ancient mythology, maybe Egypt, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I remember reading the stories and doing this, and reading the history chapter and what have you, and having this moment of realization where I went, wait, this was someone's religion.
Yeah.
These aren't just stories; these are things that people believed the way that Christians believe in the Bible.
Right.
And that kind of shook up my whole worldview.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I was like, well, what does that mean? Like, why is ours right and theirs not? And so I spent a lot of time in the like New Age section of our local bookstore after that. My older sister, who's like 8.5 years older than me, so she was in college at this point, very different point in her life than where I was at, bought me a book by Scott Cunningham called Wicca for the Solitary Practitioner because she was just so proud that her little sister was questioning her faith.
Oh my god. So she's the one.
And so from that point forward I kind of identified as Wiccan, but I was by myself for legal reasons and the fact that it's such a fringe religion. A lot of covens and groves and what have you don't want minors to participate with them unless they're there like with their parents.
Oh really?
We're a fringe religion. We self-identify as witches. I'm perfectly happy to have like my friends' kids there because I know my friends aren't insane. But
so you're saying like you don't want to be seen as like we're indoctrinating these children. You want people to be of age to like everyone's consenting, like they want to be.
Exactly. It's not that we don't want the kids, it's that for our own safety, legally, we often have to say, sorry, you can't come until you're 18.
Right, right.
And so people don't necessarily know a lot about us. What they do know is often, like, I watched these seasons of Buffy, and Willow was a witch.
Right.
And,
so let's talk a little bit about it. What is it about? What are your doctrines? What do you believe in?
Alright, so first caveat is that I'm going to be talking specifically about Blue Star Wicca, and specifically about how I practice Blue Star Wicca.
Okay.
That's a specific tradition. The analogy that I always use is if you have Christianity and then you have Catholicism and Protestantism, and then there's all these forms of Protestant.
Yeah. So it's a sect.
It's, pagan. I would compare Wicca to sort of the Protestants of the pagan world.
Oh, okay.
In terms of there are many different groups with different identities that identify as Wiccan.
Okay.
Blue Star Wicca is a British traditional form of Wicca, which means we have a lot in common with Alexandrian and Gardnerian, which are much better known names in Wicca.
Yeah.
In terms of the format of our rituals and that sort of thing. In general, because a lot of what I will say can be extrapolated out to all Wicca, it's just not, I don't want people to get the impression that I'm speaking on behalf of all Wiccans everywhere.
Of course not.
But we are a nature-based religion.
Okay.
Our focus is on the cycles of nature and the cycles of the earth. And so we have 8 Sabbats, which are our sun holidays, based on where we are in the year, where we are in the wheel of the year. So it's the equinoxes and the solstices, and then sort of points at roughly halfway between each of those.
Gotcha. That's a very powerful thing, like, because, these are things, these points in the year that have been, I don't know, worshipped or regarded as something spiritual about them for longer than Christianity was a thing, probably. So, yeah, no, I get the appeal of it.
So Gerald Gardner, when he was founding Wicca, the word Wicca comes from an old word meaning wise, wise folk. which is also actually the root word of witch.
Okay.
If you go back and you look at the histories, a lot of the things that we have translated as witch often meant like, you know, the old lady out in the country who knew about herbs.
Yeah.
And so that's why we use that title.
Yeah.
We're polytheistic.
Okay.
Pretty much across the board. I would say that's true of basically all Wiccans as far as I'm aware. But then you get sort of different flavors of polytheism.
Well, I asked because you said it's a sect of like of pagan, like with Thor and all of the Norse religion. So do you believe in those gods?
Okay, so personally speaking,
okay,
my belief system is very sort of American gods.
Like they all exist.
That they all exist.
Okay.
I would actually define my own personal practice as polyhenotheism. Henotheism is the worship of a single god, even though you acknowledge the existence of the others. They're not your gods.
Okay.
And so I would define myself as a polyhenotheist in that I do worship multiple gods. I'm not a monotheist. I'm not worshiping a single deity. But I don't have time for all of the gods that ever existed. Like, I just don't have the energy to expend on every single god that's ever been out there.
Right. All 50,000.
Right, yeah. Who knows how many.
Yeah.
So there are specific gods that I work with, and there's a number of gods that I would work with if it came up, if that was something that my students needed, or that my grove needed, or that, you know, I was attending a ritual where they were being called, or something along those lines.
Right. Now I have to ask, which is the one that you focus on?
My patron and patroness are Anubis and Kali.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. Egyptian, and what's Kali?
Kali is Hindu.
Okay.
Which is always sort of a tender subject because I'm really aware of the danger of cultural appropriation, but also know that from a personal perspective, Kali beat me over the head until I said, okay, yes, I will work with you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What's that like?
See, this is the part where I have to acknowledge that I sound like a crazy person.
No, I want to hear all about it.
No, what it is. I mean, I think all religions are crazy, and especially when you start talking about, like, personal experience of the divine, like, it's insane, right?
A little bit.
Yeah.
But that's what faith is, right? It's belief. So.
So for me personally, when I was in college, I joined the Rutgers University Pagan Student Association, which we usually just refer to as Pagan Club because it was much shorter.
Right.
And so I had the opportunity to visit a lot of different traditions because I'm still practicing solitary when I went to college. And I was visiting a Dianic circle, and Dianic Wiccans are sort of a weird kind of Wicca because they don't acknowledge the masculine half of divinity at all. They work strictly with the goddess. But I was visiting them, so I was visiting everybody and trying to figure out what path was right for me and where I felt at home. And there is a very common Wiccan or pagan chant called "We All Come from the Goddess." And one of the verses that you can lay over the other verses, and I don't know it, but it's just a litany of goddess names. And they put that on, like a CD of that on before ritual. And Kali's name is one of the names listed. And every time it would come up, it was sort of, I would kind of go, what? And then later that night we did like a meditation, and looking back, there was definitely a lot of Kali influence in that meditation, but I didn't know anything about her at the time. I didn't know who she was, I didn't know what pantheon she was from. I just knew that this name kept sort of pricking my ear.
Yeah.
And so I went home and I looked it up to see what was going on, to see what I could find out. And then I looked her up and went, oh, she's terrifying. I'm gonna not work with her at all.
Oh, she's terrifying.
The myth she's best known for is that they were fighting a demon, and every time a drop of his blood would spill, a new copy of him would spring up. And so they brought Kali forth, and she devoured him, like all of him.
Jesus.
And then was in such a blood rage that she was just destroying things. And they eventually get her to stop by Shiva, who is her husband, lay down on the ground, and she realizes that she's stepping on him, that she's trampling him, that this is her husband who she's meant to honor, and that sort of snaps her out of it. But she's got a lot of destructive power, yeah. And so, if you do a quick Google search, she'll be summarized as like, oh yeah, goddess of destruction and death and cremation grounds. Yeah. Like, oh, okay, well that's scary, right?
So why do you identify with her?
Well, because she kept hitting me over the head.
Like, worship me?
Yeah, kind of. had a dream one night, and there's a weird, find the right words.
Okay.
Having talked to other pagans and other people who are inclined to direct contact with the divine, either because that's the way the religion is structured or because they're a weirdo and whatever, but, you know, who are inclined to that kind of contact, sometimes you have dreams, and sometimes you have things that happen while you're unconscious where the divine is sort of poking at you, and there's a very distinct feeling that's different between those two.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that I can particularly describe it except to say that one is significantly more intense.
Okay.
And often they blend into each other, right? Like often you're having a dream and then somebody else shows up and you go, oh, alright, well that part I need to actually pay attention to.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was having a dream. I don't remember the details of it now, 'cause it was years ago at this point. What I remember is that partway through the dream, Kali showed up and pinned me to the deck. We were on a ship, I remember that. Pinned me to the deck and said, "You are mine."
Oh my.
And so after that I was like, alright, I think maybe I need to actually do some research and figure that shit out, because that was terrifying.
Oh my god.
But so I feel very much like she chose me, not the other way around.
Yeah.
So the way that my tradition is structured, most British traditional forms of Wicca have 3 levels of initiation, and either you're an initiate or you're not really an official part of the tradition.
Okay.
We have 2 levels of laity, and then we have our initiates. We feel that we ask a lot of initiates, and we feel that it's important to have a level of membership where you can say, yes, this is my home, this is my family, this is what I believe, this is where I worship, this is where I practice, etc., without necessarily having the requirements of clergy. So I am a 1st degree initiate of Blue Star Wicca. Under normal circumstances, I wouldn't even have students of my own right now.
Okay.
But I am the only initiate in the Richmond area in our tradition, and sort of unintentionally I took on a student while I was still in my neophyte, which is our sort of like preparatory phase for initiation.
Okay.
Because it was Leslie who you met.
Yeah. Can we talk about this? You though?
Oh!
Wait, hold on. Is that even legal? I don't know.
No, it's not legal.
Oh, okay, well then we're not talking about it.
She and I got talking one day and had this moment of, oh yeah, no, I'm also sort of stranded and alone, and these are the things I believe, and I wish I had someone to practice with.
Yeah.
But I, of course, was already entrenched. I was already working towards initiation. I was already entrenched in my tradition. And so I said, look, I would love to ritual with you and to like get together for the Esbits and the Sabbats and like actually practice regularly.
Yeah.
But I have this tradition, and this tradition is important to me, and I'm not willing to like set it aside.
Right.
Would you be interested in learning, you know, at least seeing what my tradition does and how we do it, and etc. And it really clicked for her as well. And I think, honestly, just having a community really clicks for her. And she's she's in her own neophyte right now. She's working towards initiation. I'm very proud of her. But so, after I took initiation, I was like, let's start holding our Sabbats, because she and I were getting together regularly. Let's start having open Sabbats. Let's start inviting people, like a group of people in.
Yeah.
And sort of accidentally from there, people were like, hey, this is really cool, I want to learn more.
Yeah.
And so right now, I am the only initiate of our grove. Again, still the only initiate in the Richmond area. And there are, oh god, I don't want to have to stop and count, but I think I would have to. I have 7 students.
Oh wow, that's a lot.
Which is ridiculous.
Is this all self-regulating, or is there like some organization, some Wicca organization that like gives you a certificate and like here, now you can be a teacher?
So basically the way it works is that my teacher gave me my education and normally would have been the one to give me my rite of passage into initiation.
Okay.
For reasons having to do with travel, and after I moved away from New Jersey, she moved away from New Jersey as well. So we still communicate, but it's impractical for her to be the one who actually performs these rites of passage for me.
Right.
And so my initiators are actually, you know, people I went to college with who happened to take their initiation before me. In fact, we were at a friend's wedding, and my friend Pad came over and we were talking about something. He went, "You're an initiate, right?" And I went, "No, I'm still in my neophyte." And he went, "I'll be right back." And went and talked to his wife, who was also an initiate, and came back and was like, "So Magna, I talked. What's going on and how do we fix this for you? Because no one should be a neophyte this long." I was like, "Yeah, I know."
Right.
And so they ended up.
What's the initiate process like? Please tell me there are spells.
Okay, so In Neophyte, the problem is a lot of it is oathbound. I can't actually tell you about a lot.
Darn it.
But in Neophyte, the notion.
But is it as cool as I'm thinking?
It's totally that cool.
Okay.
It's cooler.
Hoods and candles and, you know, all of that.
So we have 8 aspects, which are the equinoxes and the solstices, and then sort of quarter points between them.
Okay.
But we also get together for the full moon and the new moon.
Okay, so once a month at least. Or
Yeah,
twice a month.
so roughly twice a month,
Okay.
plus those 8 holidays. Like I tend to think of those as our holidays because there are only 8 of them, and for us at least those are much bigger to-dos because they are when we invite the community. We spend a lot more time because they're such much further apart, and because we're, you know, it's a much bigger group. We spend more time sort of figuring out exactly what we're going to do for this particular event.
Gotcha.
Whereas, especially with my group, Espets are the full moons and the new moons are very much teaching rituals. Like we'll have ritual, but a lot of times it's like, oh, we're gonna have ritual, and this is your first time you're gonna priestess. And obviously, you know, brush off as much as you can. Remember, you think about it ahead of time. But I'll walk you through it if you need me to. Like, and so they tend not to be as powerful, like as moving. Because ritual and theater have a lot in common, and ritual is at its strongest and most powerful and emotionally evocative when it all flows seamlessly and the words come as this dramatic, you know, like it's all a small form of theater. I can like go kick it if you want.
I mean, I don't know.
I think I'm afraid of the same thing that everyone ultimately is afraid of, which is loss.
Loss?
Yeah. You know, I'm in a really good place in my life. I have a loving husband. I have this lovely house. I have, you know, these students in my grove and this great religious community. And I have this improv family that is wonderful and important to me. And I am tearing up thinking about losing any of them.
Really? Yeah. It's a scary thing to think about.
Yeah. So yeah, it really is the idea of losing not just things, but like losing those people that are in my life. That's what scares me the most.
Yeah, 100%, so valid. Because that's, I mean, they, at the end of the day, it's the people that make up your life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that means so much to you. No, it's great. This is wonderful. Because people who might watch this and be like, oh my god, she's a witch and all this other stuff. But this is like the, no, she's a human part. Do you want to talk this out?
No, I mean it's...
Is there anything, did you lose anything in your past that made you just...
I mean we've all had loss, right? Like I can definitely talk about family members that have passed away and things like that.
Yeah.
I don't think that it is anything more tragic or unusual than what anyone else has ever gone through. Like I don't think that I'm special and my tragedy is greater than other people's tragedy.
Right, of course not.
But yeah, I think especially the first time you lose somebody, that like moment, because I knew people who passed away, or like, when I was very young, my paternal grandparents passed away, and I didn't really, and it was sad, and I knew it was supposed to be sad, and I was sad because my dad was sad, like that made me sad.
Right.
But I didn't know them very well, like I was very young when they passed away, and to be honest, unfortunately, most of my memories of my grandmother are after she'd gone senile, and so I know that even what I knew of her wasn't really her.
Right, yeah.
And so that didn't really hit me very hard, and a classmate of mine in grade school had a bike accident and passed away, and again, it was sort of that, I know I'm supposed to be sad, this person I know has passed away, and it wasn't really until my maternal grandmother, my Nana, passed away.
You're very close to.
Yeah, she was, I mean, I don't have like great stories about how like, you know, I'd go over to her house after school and she,
right. You don't always need them.
Right, but she lived, you know, where my other grandparents, we lived in Vermont and they lived in New Jersey when they passed away. My maternal grandfather, when he passed away, I very selfishly was annoyed because he did it right before Halloween and my birthday, and it was the weirdest Sweet 16 anyone's ever had, I think.
Right.
But I wasn't, you know, I was sad because I had memories of him, but I hadn't seen him in years. I wasn't very close with him. When my Nana passed away, she lived, you know, 2 towns over and would come over for dinner a couple times a week and was always, like, she was a part of my life in a way that nobody that I'd known who passed away before had been.
Yeah.
And so I think that's probably when it hit me the hardest.
Yeah.
See, this is the question I had the hardest time figuring out
Yeah.
what the right answer was,
Yeah.
like what the honest answer was. Because I'm pretty happy where I am right now, and I guess what I hope for is not for things not to change.
Just continued happiness.
But for the things to continue to go in sort of the direction that they're going in.
Yeah, that's a great answer.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's not a very interesting answer.
No, it is because everyone I've interviewed so far is just like, I'm at this shitty point in my life. I wish, like, for this, I want all of these great things, or I hope I don't lose track of my goals, or stuff like that. But no, I've never interviewed someone that's like, everything's fine. And I can see it means a lot because we just asked you a question and you were terrified of losing any of it. So it makes complete valid sense. But yeah, that's great. That's great. I feel happy for you knowing that you're in this wonderful place in your life. Anyone interested in becoming a Wicca?
I mean, witchvox.com, Vox, V-O-X, witchvox.com is a great resource.
Yeah.
Like, our group has a listing there. Most groups that are active and functioning, you'll be able to find contact information for them on that website.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, sweet, to go away. Bye, guys.
Bye. Don't break my car.
I might.
Don't.